Right, I think that's just gone tense. I think we'll get started. Morning, my name's Opash and I'm on the marketing team here at Bridgeall. I wanted to thank you all for joining us for our Mimecast email security session, where we'll be discussing how you can protect your business from cyber attacks with the Mimecast solution. Just a quick note actually before we get started. So the session is being recorded and we will be sending out a copy of this recording and the slides after the event. So if there is anything that you want to catch up upon, you can do. There might be someone as well in your organisation that wasn't able to make it, so you can share those files with them as well. You will notice that you're on mute at the moment, but we do encourage you to use the chat function for any questions that you do have. We do have a bit of a Q&A near the end of the session, and we'll do our best to get your questions answered then. So that's kind of the few housekeeping points covered. So what I'll do now is I'm going to pass you on to our team of experts. So we've got Craig Spears and David Sutherland who will be running the session. So we hope you find it useful and we hope you enjoy it. So I'll just hand over to you, Craig. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Opash. Yes, as Opash said, we're going to talk about email security using Mimecast. I'll do a quick introduction of myself. So, my name is Craig Spears. I'm a senior cloud consultant at Bridgeall. I work with businesses on their digital transformation and how to utilise cloud services to enhance their business, and also work with the cyber security aspect of businesses as well. So I'll move on to the agenda. So my colleague David, who'll be on the webinar, he'll be discussing the email security, just features of that, the different types of phishing. You may not be aware that phishing is still the most secure #1 attack method that hackers are using to try and get into your business. We'll touch on Mimecast itself. A lot of you on this webinar might have heard of Mimecast email security, and discuss the features of Mimecast, how Mimecast can sit side by side with Microsoft Defender for the business, and also the costing aspect of Mimecast as well. So I'll do a quick introduction about Bridgeall. We're based in Glasgow, 44 staff at the moment and growing, and established in 2002. We're split into 4 key business areas. We've got the modern intelligent workplace, which focuses on improving employee productivity and satisfaction. We've got managed IT services and support, and that's the department myself and David work in, and that covers security, cybersecurity, infrastructure, cloud services, telephony, and lease lines. We've also got the application department. That department works on supporting and developing large-scale bespoke software solutions and covers business intelligence, management information and data. And we've also got the Trevi department, which is a suite of product solutions focused on the water utility sector. Okay, we're a 10 times Microsoft Gold partner and a Microsoft Certified Solutions partnerships. Microsoft last year changed the kind of partner method, and we're focusing the partners to become solution specialists. So we managed to achieve that within modern work, Azure infrastructure, Azure data and AI, and Azure digital and app innovation. We also hold ISO 9001 and 27001, and also we've got Cyber Essentials Plus. And from this slide, you can see it's a selection of our customers across private and public sectors and across a number of industry verticals such as manufacturing, housing, national government, NHS, utilities and events. So that's enough from me and about Bridgeall, and I'll pass you over to my colleague David, who will run you through the webinar.
Thanks, Craig. Morning, everyone. My name is David Sutherland. I'm a senior cloud engineer here at Bridgeall. My day-to-day job consists of the implementation and support of cloud services for our customers. Now, this morning, I'd like to talk to you about email security and how you can improve on it through use of Mimecast. So the need for email security. So a recent government survey on cybersecurity breaches over the last 12 months highlighted that the most common types of attack and attack vectors used, with the top 2 coming out as email-based. So this slide, I feel, gives a very visual overview of the causes of the breach within IT infrastructure, with an almighty 84% of businesses having suffered at the hands of phishing attacks, where criminals have attempted to extract data from the company, effectively starting with tricking or misleading users. Further, 35% experienced impersonation-based attacks, where a criminal would pretend to be an individual either known to the company or to the user. Now, the other leading causes of cybersecurity breach can be attributed to device-based attacks. Now, this is where a form of malware is deployed to the end user's device in order to access or harvest corporate data. Takeover attempts of a company's website, social media, and email accounts. And finally, attempts to hack the online bank accounts of a business. Now, as I said, top two here are specifically email as a starting point for the breach. So email security in itself is quite a challenging aspect. A report published by Mimecast noted that 91% of all breaches, regardless of how they end up, start with an email-based attack. Now, here we can see what the typical flow of an email attack might look like. Now, the attack would start outside of the company with an external party using an attack vector such as phishing to target a large number of users within the company. So the attacker then focuses on getting the users to perform an action or actions that effectively involve passing on important data or unknowingly submitting their credentials. Now, as the attack was aimed at a large number of users, this can spread quite quickly within an organization, culminating in the attacker gaining access to the organization's systems. And from there, once the attacker has access, it's then possible for them to steal, encrypt, destroy important data, and also having the ability to cover their tracks while doing this. So I spoke about phishing as an attack vector, but what is phishing? So there are different types of phishing ploys that can be extremely sophisticated and take different forms depending on who they're targeted at. Now, some of the most common ones here include email phishing. So this is outright the most common and most basic type of cyber attack. In this instance, a fraudster will mimic the organization's email domain. They'll send out thousands of generic requests. In order to panic the recipient of the request, a common tactic is to claim that the user's account has maybe been compromised and to urge the individual to respond and take action immediately. Or the attacker may take the opposite approach. They may claim that the target has won a prize in an attempt to lure the user to click on a malicious link. The underlying aim in both cases is to induce the victim to provide personal information or enter their credentials into a site that is run by the hacker. So moving on, spear phishing. Now this is a more direct form of attack against specific people within an organization. So instead of sending out a kind of blanket mass email communication to all the recipients, the perpetrator in this case would target individuals within a company, typically those that have high levels of network access or authority to approve financial transactions. Now, these type of attacks are generally more personalized in an attempt to dupe the victim. Whaling is quite similar to spear phishing, but the intended target is slightly different. In this case, it's generally aimed at senior executives in a company, those with a great deal of authority, and the tactics employed here are often more subtle. So emails may appear to come from a client or business whom the target is quite familiar with, and they may make requests for proprietary information which to the end user might seem quite innocuous. The two most common types here are smishing and vishing. Now, these are similar to phishing itself, but the medium used is different. A smisher in this case would send out a large number of malicious text messages in the same way that a phisher would use email as their media. And a visher, on the other hand, would use telephone communication to engage a target. Now, a common ploy here might be for the scammer to pose as, say, a fraud investigator from the bank or a credit card company. The fraudster will then obviously ask the intent victim to provide personal information to verify their identity, at which case they will then use that maliciously outside of the telephone call to either acquire knowledge, data, or potentially financial gain. So I've spoken about the need for email security and some of the types of attack. I'd now like to talk to you about Mimecast and in particular their email security solution. So Mimecast Email Security is a cloud-based email solution and management platform that provides comprehensive protection for organizations against various email-based threats. Now, encapsulating AI into its defense mechanisms, some of the key features of Mimecast include phishing protection, URL protection, advanced malware detection, spam filtering, and attachment sandboxing. And I'd like to touch on those in more detail shortly. Now, a bit more about Mimecast as a company. They've been about for more than 20 years now, protecting organizations' email systems and environments. In this time, they've grown to have more than 42,000 customers, spanning over 100 countries. That equates to in the region of 17 million end-user email accounts being protected. And currently, Mimecast are actively scanning and inspecting in the region of 1.3 billion emails per day. So how does Mimecast work? So a big topic these days is the use of AI, and this is something that plays a large part in Mimecast email security. So building on its foundation of a mature and proven defense platform, Mimecast now blends advanced AI and machine learning models into its next generation email security. Now this enables it to apply the right detections at the right time to incoming emails, to actively block threats such as malware, viruses, and spam, and to be able to adapt and learn to both your environment and the potential attack vectors that have been aimed at it. So what products does Mimecast offer? Well, the Mimecast email security solution comes in two different flavors depending on the desired use case and the customer's environment. First one I'll talk about here is the cloud integrated solution. Now, this uses direct API integration into the customer's environment, effectively layering it behind the likes of Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. Now, an important one to note here is there's no mail flow change required. You don't need to modify your MX records in order to implement this. It does support native scanning of all internal email traffic between users with no additional configuration required. Now, this solution is particularly quick to deploy, and as it'll slot in terms of the flow, it'll slot in after the inbuilt Microsoft and Google services and detection, but before the email is delivered to the end user. And the only caveat with the cloud integrated is that it's limited to cloud-based email providers. Now, this would be the Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace platforms. Conversely, Mimecast offer a cloud gateway. Now, this works a bit different. This effectively acts as an email proxy and sits in front of your email environment. So this one does require a change in your mail flow and MX records, and they will point to Mimecast first and foremost before where the scanning will occur, and then the mail will flow into your environment. Similarly, outbound, it will go from your environment to Mimecast for further checks before it's released. Slightly more complex setup, but more configurable initial setup with this implementation. The key point to note with the Cloud Gateway is it works with any email platform. It's not limited to cloud-based and can work with on-premise solutions such as Microsoft Exchange. Regardless of which one you were to choose, both products are backed by the same underlying defense mechanisms and same security infrastructure within them. So, key benefits of the Mimecast solution. So, to summarize what I've discussed in the previous slides here, the Mimecast product is a mature yet constantly evolving world-class email security suite. It does offer flexibility in its deployment solutions, so you can find an option that's tailored to your email infrastructure. It is fairly rapid to deploy and can enable your organization to benefit from its features in a short period of time. And it's backed by an advanced AI and machine learning powered detection engines. So I've talked a bit about Mimecast as a company and what they offer, but what I'd also like to discuss is some of the features of the product and how they work. So starting with your inbound email protection. So the inbound email protection platform in Mimecast utilizes three main, what we'll term as inspection funnels, as indicated on the diagram there. And these are for scanning, cleansing, and isolating potential email threats to your organization. So starting with attachment inspection. This is an advanced service that provides customers and protects them with, or provides them with a protection from the growing risk of phishing and other targeted attacks using email attachments. Now, this protection is offered on all devices for the end user's enterprise email account, and that's regardless of whether it's a smartphone or tablet, PC, laptop, and whether or not they're provided by the employer or they are personally owned devices. Email inspection. As inbound emails are received by Mimecast on behalf of your organization, they're subject to analysis by the email inspection funnel. Now, this is where a series of email hygiene and advanced security scanning techniques are applied in order to make sure that emails are safe before they're delivered to your recipients internally. And also URL inspection. Now, this advanced service, it effectively scans for links contained within emails and attachments, and it rewrites them so that when a user clicks on one, it triggers a redirect to Mimecast, which initiates a scan to the URL's target to make sure that the intended URL is not a suspicious website and doesn't contain any danger to the user before the user is then able to access that particular website. If there are any threats detected, then the user will get a block screen referring them to why they've been blocked and a bit more information about the threat that was detected. Regardless, all incoming emails to your organization, whether they're malicious or not, will flow through these inspection funnels to make sure that they are safe for delivery. So another useful feature of Mimecast is dynamic warning banners and their implementation. So Mimecast can be configured to provide a very visual warning to your end users where a suspicious email is detected. Now, I've added a couple of screenshots in here where you can see users given some options and some more information about the email itself. It highlights why it was potentially suspicious to the user, but also allows them to take action themselves to a degree. So the user is able to mark an email as safe if it's a sender that they know and they'll regularly communicate with. They are able to mark it as safe and genuine. If the email appears to be dangerous, they're able to report it as such, at which point it's flagged to the Mimecast administrator in the organization for further action to be taken. Or if the user deems that the email is maybe not a threat, but more of a nuisance, it's something they don't want to see, they can mark it as spam at this point. And again, the warnings here can be displayed across a variety of platforms. They're not limited to desktop email clients. They can also be used on mobile and tablet devices as well. So as well as inbound email flow, organizations also want their outbound mail flow to be protected. to prevent the possible spread of phishing and malicious content from within to their customers and those that they communicate with regularly. So how does Mimecast's outbound email protection work? Well, when an outbound email is sent from your environment, a journey copy of the email taken from your on-premise or cloud deployment is pulled into Mimecast for further inspection of potential malicious content in your attachments, links, and sensitive data. So based on a scan of the email, the following can happen, either automatically or manually, depending how you configure your Mimecast environment. So if an attachment was detected with malicious content, the attachment can be stripped from the email and the mail sent on its own, or the whole message can be removed from the mail flow entirely. If an email contains a malicious link or an attachment with a malicious link, then the entire message can be taken out of the mail flow. And if an attachment is discovered to contain unwanted content, then again, we can take the entire message out of the mail flow so it doesn't reach its intended recipients. So an important point to note with the outbound email protection, all actions are logged within Mimecast, and if necessary, a message can be reinserted back into the mail flow if perhaps it turns out to be, say, a false positive. For any email being sent outside of the organization, they can be held at the email gateway, so they're not released to your recipient, or they can also be held and any sign of infection or attachment removed from the sender's mailbox as well. So moving on, I'd like to talk about some of the analysis and response features of Mimecast. I'd like to start that with email content analysis. So a further look into Mimecast email content analysis here shows that there are multiple factors that are considered when Mimecast scans an incoming email to your domain. So firstly, it starts by looking at domain verification. Now, this is where the system will provide checks on the sender's domain, and effectively it looks for things such as, is it a newly registered domain? Has the domain only recently started sending email? Does the domain appear on a known block list? Is it perhaps a domain of a free email provider such as Gmail or Hotmail, which may be scrutinized more thoroughly? Or is it perhaps a deliberately mistyped name of a common brand, i.e. someone sent from Microsoft.com, but they've replaced the O's with zeros? So secondly, it then moves on to subject line monitoring. So it will look for potentially risky or enticing phrases within the subject line here, something it may say along the lines of claim your reward or your account has been compromised. Moving on, it'll then look at the threat-specific language if it's present within the email. Now, this is where the detection model would look for things like the user being asked to complete an action. Have they been asked to send something or to share or perhaps buy something? And lastly, it'll look at the overall message intent. So it'll look at the email as a whole and decide, is it an attempt to maybe lure the user to a specific website, or perhaps trying to get them to divulge sensitive data? So that the culmination in these analyses for the four aspects produce a score for the email, which Mimecast will then rate against its internal scoring system to determine A, is the email a threat, and B, what further action should be taken? Should it be marked as suspicious? Should it be held? Should it be outright rejected from your email system? So continuing on with the analysis and response, so Mimecast now provide a centralized dashboard in which administrators can track in real time any threat detections within their email security. So I've added here a screenshot of the dashboard itself. Now, as we can see, the dashboard's effectively designed to provide a deeper insight into the classification of threat that's been detected within your environment and how frequently that is being seen, and also what actions are being taken. So it also provides a bit of a timeline here. As you can see, there's a line graph in here. It shows when there's spikes in detections found in incoming emails to your environment. So the classifications of threats, they're broken down into 6 main criteria here, which would be malware, phishing, spam, generally suspicious email, blocked attachments, and blocked clicks on URLs. So as well as providing data on the threats that are coming to your environment, dashboard can also give you vital information as to which users within your environment or organization are the most targeted by these attacks. This is something that could be potentially useful in a training aspect, as the data could help feed into a vigilance and awareness training program for your end users. Also, on the previous slide, we saw it highlighted detections, and we could drill down into it. So this is effectively what we would get if we drill down into one of the specific events. So we get an analysis detail page where we get some more information, effectively to aid us in the understanding of what the threat is and what actions have already been taken by Mimecast by the time that you're alerted. So the summary box here will display an overview of threat classification and status. And we also get an analysis panel here. This gives us some more detailed information about what the message is, what attachments were on it, what, if any, URL clicks were blocked from it. It also gives us the option to view forensic reports if there's a malicious file detection on the email, and it will highlight what's been detected through the sandbox detection system in Mimecast. And also more detailed information about the threat can be found on these reports. So moving on again, we've seen some of the details on what Mimecast is capable of. I'd like to talk about Mimecast and its use with Microsoft Defender, which some of you may already be familiar with or possibly use within your environment. So why use the two products together? Well, if you remember back to an earlier slide, we highlighted the 2 most common types of data breaches are based on email. Now, employing a defense in-depth strategy, it is possible to configure Mimecast email security side by side with Microsoft 365 Defender. And in doing so, we can get many advantages to our organization. Effectively, we provide a layered security platform, and in doing so, we create a more robust defense against email security threats. It's possible that one email system may miss it, but the second one may catch it, again, minimizing the number of threats coming through to your users. Specialized focus. So whilst 365 Defender is a comprehensive security suite, Mimecast specializes specifically in email security, and this focused expertise can lead to more advanced email protection features within your environment. Enhanced threat detection. So Mimecast utilizes its own threat intelligence network, which is separate from that used by Microsoft. And this may be able to identify or block threats that may not have been picked up on the Microsoft system yet. Mimecast offer continuity services for their email as well, ensuring that in the event of a 365 outage, users are still able to access their inbox and email. Archiving and compliance. So Mimecast also provide an extensive archiving and compliance system, which, depending on your industry, may be crucial for your business. Again, Mimecast offers additional tools for internal email-based scanning between your users not including the email that's going outside of your environment. We also get customizable policies with Mimecast, allowing a more granular customization of your mail flow and security. And finally, Mimecast provides an independent backup of your emails, reducing your reliance on a single vendor and increasing your resilience. So whilst Microsoft 365 Defender does offer strong protection, adding Mimecast into your organization can provide it with an extra layer of specialized security for your email platform. So I've talked about Mimecast, its features and use cases. And last, I'd like to talk a bit about Mimecast licensing. So in terms of licensing and pricing structure, Mimecast is tiered depending on which features are required for your organization. We've got a summary table here of costs, which are shown in a per user per month format. Now, I'm not going to drill down into each tier in great detail, but if you do have any questions or queries as to which tier might be the best fit for your organization, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to discuss or book a session and some time with you and go through this a bit further. And a copy of the slides will be available to you for reference. So that's it, a tour of Mimecast for you this morning. I do hope it's been useful to you. If you have any immediate questions, please pop them in the chat just now and we can look to answer them for you. Otherwise, feel free to reach out after the presentation. You can find myself, Craig on LinkedIn, or the company account, drop us an email. As I said, the slides are available after the presentation for you. Thank you very much for your time this morning. And are there any questions?
Okay, it seems like there are maybe not as many questions just now, but if there are any other questions that you think of maybe later on, as David was saying, please do get in touch with us. Oh, wait, now there's just something that's coming there. Don't know, David, if you've caught that question there, or Craig. We're currently using ForcePoint.
Yeah, to be honest, I've never used ForcePoint, so I'd have to look into that and get back to you. From my experience, I've used Mimecast, Barracuda email security, and Microsoft Defender, but I can take that away and reach out to you about that.
Yeah, we'll be sending a follow-up out as well, so any other kind of information that you need about that, we can obviously get in touch and discuss a wee bit further. But yeah, if that's all the questions for now, I'd just like to thank David and Craig for a really insightful session. We hope that you enjoyed it and found it useful. We will be sending a follow-up shortly, as David mentioned before. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please do get in touch. We've got a couple other events coming up later on in the year, and I'll pop a wee link into that as well if you want to register for that. That's regarding Microsoft Copilot. I'll put that in the chat as well. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we hope to see you at a Bridgel event soon. Thank you.